Hello. So it's been a while since I've been on YouTube, and basically, for those of you who still follow me, I've been out of it for a long time, and for number of reasons. But anyhow, the reason that I'm creating this video is just to kind of provide an update about what's going on. So right now, I'm actually in southern Russia. For those of you who are in the English speaking world, it would look something like Krasnodar on the map. So this is a region in the southwestern part of Russia. And to back up, to give some context to this video, is that what happened is that I had came here several years back. So I had come here, and I had done some things here. I had done some studies, and basically, time went by. I was here for a while, and I reached a point where my studies were over with, and I really was trying to figure out, okay, what to do next. At that point in time, I was living in St. Petersburg. Now, my time in St. Petersburg was okay in some ways, bad in other respects. Now, during that time, there was a lot of things that had happened. Unfortunately, many, emotionally very challenging, very demanding kinds of things happened in my life. So, certainly wasn't one of the easiest times. In any case, so is that I was in St. Petersburg. A lot of things happened during that time, and I decided that, before leaving here a little earlier this year, I should just check to see maybe, what Russia's like, because most of the time here I had just been in St. Petersburg, so I hadn't really seen any other parts of Russia. So, needless to say, I checked out a few other regions of Russia, and in general, I mean, I will say Russia is Russia. It's not like, it is still one country. There are aspects of the country that you would find in any place, whether you were in Moscow, whether you were in Vladivostok, if you were in, Orenburg, some other part of Russia. Russia is still Russia. But with that being said, there are some regional characteristics at play. So basically, during this time is that I had lost my passport. So that was one thing that happened. My visa expired, and I lost my registration card. So um, essentially, I do not have the documentation I need. All I have right now is an emergency Passport. Um, Hold on, I will explain that. Lone Wolf. Right now, all I have is an emergency passport. Now, Russia has a strange system whereby, in most countries, if you overstay, regretfully, I've been in this position before, in Argentina, is that you just go to the airport, you pay an exit fee, that's all. They let you go. Not so simple here in Russia. You have to go through a court process. And so it's difficult, and especially now, given the fact that, I mean, the West is essentially at war with Russia, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. So puts me in a difficult predicament, and I'm not sure about my future. So, um, yeah, so as I was saying, I am not sure about my future here. Now, what does this mean? Several things. First of all, very uncertain about what's going to happen moving forward. Could I be looking at some jail time? Yes, I'm not going to lie about that. And it's not something that I look forward to, but I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It is a possibility. And I'm not saying this in the air that, you watch some of these liberal YouTubers, some of these even liberal Russian YouTubers, and they sensationalize and they just completely distort the truth. They act like they're in some kind of harm's way, that, those people can just leave the country. No one's stopping them. If you're a Russian, you have a passport, you can leave the country. Now, there may be visas required at some of the destination countries, but those visas are not given by Russia. They're given by the countries those people are intending on going to, whether to live, visit, or some other purpose. In my case, I'm in a different situation. I don't have a valid visa to be here. So it's, unfortunately, it's so some things happen, and I should have been more responsible back a long time ago, but it is what it is. Lone wolf. Okay, I'll address that lone wolf. As far as that's concerned, I would say the West is being very unfair toward Russia, and irrespective of how someone wants to look at even the current situation with this war going on, this ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia, etc., is that if you look at the dynamics of it, you could look at it in several ways. First of all, it's not an uncommon problem historically for countries to have border disputes. Super normal. I mean, this is not something out of the range of possibility. This is something that you could look on a map, and it's happened very frequently in many places around the world. So one could take that angle and clearly just look at it. Okay, this is a border dispute between Russia and Ukraine. Why does the West have to intervene? That's one approach. The other one is that Russia has a legitimate, what's the word, claim to these to this land, in that it's not even proper to look at Russia and Ukraine as two separate countries, but maybe a more relevant parallel would be, say, America with the North and the South, Confederate States of America, United States of America. Now, I'm not going to go into the Civil War as far as, the ethical aspects of it right here, right now, moral aspects, should the North have gone into the South, etc. But that would be a way that someone could look at this, is more like that war between North and the South, the North wanting a more federal state, and then the South wishing to have its own state, its autonomy. Now, another angle when looking at this is that the West right now is really struggling. I mean, we look at the kind of the way things are going, the social dynamics. You can look at the dollar and the monetary systems. It's very unsustainable, the policies that Western states are pursuing. And furthermore, is that if you look at the social dynamics, they are completely bastardized. I'm not saying that Russia is perfect, but in comparison, one can clearly make the case that the West is pursuing this war not because it really cares about protecting Ukraine, but it's a matter of pushing, let's say, globa homo. It's a matter of pushing that liberal hegemonic worldview, all of the stereotypes that we can imagine associated with contemporary Western liberalism. That's the reason why the US and its European Union allies and others are pursuing this war right now. So I would absolutely say that that Russia is not being treated fairly. And this kind of shows, I mean, not to sound arrogant or like a narcissist, but this shows the kind of person that I try to be, and that I do try to be honest. And irrespective of some of the problems I've had with Russia in the past, I still try to maintain integrity when looking at these things. So yeah, I mean, it's quite evident when you have all the big globalist, all of the major corporations, major NGOs, major Western leaders, all of these different interests all support Ukraine, or at least that's what they say they do. So I think that in itself is enough of an indicator, is look at who is behind them, the major interests, and there's definitely something to it. Now, Of course, I'm aware of elements of the supposed right who claim that they support Ukraine and that are super anti-Russian. I know that there are some individuals who are supposedly on the right that make this position, that take this position. I'm not really sure if they're actually part of the right. I mean, nowadays, what's right wing anyhow? But I do know that there are some of those out there that claim to be right wing and yet are very adamant about their support for Ukraine and also post Russia. So, how can that be? I don't know. I mean, some of these people, I think they have this maybe nostalgia from the Cold War era, maybe maybe it was from their parents, that their parents were of a generation that was very anti-Soviet, and so therefore, in an attempt to appease their parents or other individuals of older generations, they take this stance. Because I know for those who are in the U.S., generally speaking, from what I am told, maybe older people, diehard liberals, they tend to be very adamant about their support of Ukraine. Many other people don't really care. There's others, maybe a minority, who are outspoken about their support or at least allegiance with Russia. So I know that there's different elements. Now, in my case, stepping back is that what will the outcome of these decisions be as far as the court process? I'm not certain yet. I'm hoping for the best, and time will tell. Now, to answer the other question, am I still MGTOW? I would say to a certain degree, yes, although I can't claim to be the most adamant individual who would identify with MGTOW. One of the reasons why I'm still a little questionable about my stance when it comes to MGTOW is that some aspects of it I certainly respect, and I think that there are legitimate cases to be made. For example, the anti-male nature of the court system, the fact that in many ways, if you look at the contemporary marriage scene as it's regarded today, it really seems to be something that is rigged against guys. And for a man going into a marriage, for instance, and not to recognize that they're probably not getting the best deal in most cases. I think that that guy would have to be very naive, or they're not being honest with himself. So from that aspect of it, I think that MGTOW has many valid points. Now in my life, I've never really had a longer term relationship. I've never been married. I've never had children. And maybe it's to my benefit that I've never attracted women for longer term relationships. I mean, I think in some ways, and maybe some of you guys out there can attest to this, I think a lot of times women are looking for a guy who's kind of dumb. I mean, they're looking for maybe someone who's almost like a man child, something along these lines. And I think that if you don't kind of fit a certain, if you don't fit like a certain character, it's just like, I'm not interested. And so perhaps for that reason, because I don't appeal to what they want, I have never had a long-term relationship. I mean, I have had some shorter ones, anywhere from 1 or 2 weeks up through maybe a year and a half. I think the longest relationship I had was my first actual girlfriend back when I was 20, 21, and then partially 20. I was partially 20 and then 21, partially 22. Needless to say is that she took me for a ride. She cheated on me. She broke up with me numerous times. This was down in Argentina. She's Argentine. And yeah, of course, at the time, I didn't have the kind of knowledge that I have now. And I definitely let it happen. Would I now? Absolutely not. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Lone Wolf. As far as being red pilled, what's hard for me is that I would still say that as a normal person, could I go 100% monk? I mean, truly being honest about it, because there's guys that might say that, but they're not being honest. As I said, I want to maintain integrity and be upfront about things, not say one thing, do something else. At this point in my life, I would say that I would still be a little bit too young to say go 100% monk. Maybe if I were 10 years older, certainly 20 years older, I think it might be possible. But at this point in my life, I would say that I still wouldn't be at that phase where I could do it. I think if we think back to some of these individuals in the manosphere community, Warren, Vincent McTowell, I mean, let's be honest. Well, I mean, of course, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the guy. I mean, of course, he's deceased, but I still would say that when you look at his age, his conditions, things like this, it would definitely make it much easier for a guy to go monk at that point in their life, given what they're facing, than someone, say, who's 20, 15, 25, younger age range, much more difficult since a person still has hormones. And as someone that comes from scientific background. I mean, I've studied chemistry, biology, genetics, all of these things within the realm of biotechnology, and I can say that people have chemicals, hormones, and things like this that are just unavoidable. I mean, you can try to rig your body to certain things. You can put injections and stuff, but still difficult. Yes, Lone Wolf. I would. I would agree with you. And as far as the age with doing certain things, I think that's also something that has to be taken into account. And also the country, because let's face it, if you're in one country over another, the difference between, I mean, gender dynamics, relationships, things like this really vary. You're in a place like here in Russia, and as I've said before, not perfect, but it's going to be considerably better for a normal guy than if you're in a place like America or the UK. Generally, from what I've seen, is that the Anglo countries are usually the worst, and then other Western European countries aren't great either. But usually, if you're in those in the Anglosphere, absolute wars. So as far as why someone there would not want to have, say, a relationship or be in a marriage or something along these lines, or even pursue it, I can completely understand. And you walk down a street here in Russia, whether you're in, as I said, here in Krasnodar, you're in Sochi, Moscow, Vladivostok, uh, Orenburg, Tomsk, I mean, any of these cities of Russia, and you can just tell that dating wise, considerably better. I'm not saying that you're going to get married or maybe you don't want to get married, but if you're just looking for, some tail, you want, maybe you just want something shorter, much easier here and much more desirable as far as what you're going to get. I mean, if you like girls that have a more, let's say, what's the word? I mean, of course, nice looking face, but also more curvature to their bodies. You're going to get more of that here. When I mean curvature, I don't mean like fat. I mean, where, there's, some ass, the girl has ass to them and, you know, stuff like that. It's like if you like that, you would like somewhere like Russia or Belarus or Ukraine, even like Poland, places like this, a lot more optimal for whatever reason. I guess perhaps this genetics, gene selection, things along these lines over so many generations. If that's what you prefer, it's going to be much easier to get here than if you're in, again, USA or Canada or something. I mean, typical girl walking along the street here that might be turning heads in USA, for instance, wouldn't even, guys wouldn't even glance over at her. I mean, it's just how it is here. And so I think that's one of the problems when you look in the Western world is that even though there are a lot of red-pilled guys, there are still, unfortunately, probably too many more guys that are blue-pilled than red pill. I have to be saying that because if more guys were red pilled, the dating dynamics would be much better. So clearly, just looking at the results, many guys in the Western world are still very blue pilled. They still adhere to this mindset that somehow they have to worship women, they have to be disrespected, and even if they see someone that isn't all that attractive, she's somehow a goddess in their eyes. And so, and unless that comes to an end, I think that's only going to continue to maybe even escalate. So we see now what's happening with Andrew Tate. I saw that he's facing some criminal charges in Romania. And look, I'm not a fanboy to Andrew Tate. I mean, he does his thing. It's not maybe not the kind of way I would do things, but I mean, obviously he's been quite successful for himself. Seems to be that he's amassed a quite a financial fortune and has really built up his profile. I mean, it was interesting looking at how he went from being this contestant on Big Brother, I think it was. And even at that time, I mean, he really wasn't that well known. He had done some kickboxing. He had a successful run in the kickboxing scene. Yeah, Romania. Well, and here's the other thing too. If we're talking countries like Romania, here's the reality. You're still in the European Union. Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary. I've been to these places. I've you know I Hungary. I must say, very beautiful city. I had mostly good experiences with the people. Again, if you for dating scene is much better than the U.S. Although maybe not quite as good as Russia, but it's still much better. But when we're talking places like Hungary or Romania, these places, is that they're still part of the EU. They're still part of a very globalist entity. And when push comes to shove, they are going to comply with what the Western world wants. Yes. It's not like just because they're maybe more traditional that for them it's just all about money. Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, all these countries, they're in it because of the money, and that's it. That's the reason that they're in the European Union. Oh, Russia. Okay, cool. Well, awesome. Uh, nice. Which part of Russia are you from? REYM? So, I mean, when we're talking countries like, again, Romania, Hungary, these places, no disrespect to them. I think Hungary, beautiful country. I've been to Budapest. It was awesome. But at the same time, you can't expect that just because you're in a country that was, let's say, what was the guy's name? Kosechu, I think, the Romanian leader, just because they had this kind of hardcore communist system going for a while, and because still a lot of people have maybe some of those values in them, not to expect that they're somehow going to be super base when push comes to shove. They want you, they're going to get you the Western world if you're in these places. So it's just that simple. And I would almost go as far to say this is that if it's a question of living in a Western country or Eastern country, I would just go all out. So either go all in, go and live in a place like Russia or Belarus, or just live in a completely global home Western country. But I think doing this halfway stuff where what I see what Tate was doing, where he kind of has like half in, half out, I don't think really works. At some point, you're going to have issues with the governments with those places. So yeah, right. Lone wolf. That is absolutely the case. There are big differences inside the EU. Yes, and that is something that I think I did mention is that within the EU there are considerable differences, but at the same time, if they want to get you, they'll get you. And as far as the mentality and culture and things like this, from what I experience in Estonia, for instance, yeah, in Estonia, it was in some ways I liked it, and I of course respect the kind of the industrious nature of a lot of the people, and as far as how they could build up their country. I mean, it was pretty impressive for what it was prior. I mean, I think they did a good job with things, but when you're in a country like that, it's still part of the European Union. It's going to be totally Western, and I saw the demographic decline happening before my eyes. If you looked at, say, the dating scene, all this kind of stuff, you talk to guys who were in, say, Estonia back in the early 2000s compared to when I got there in the 2010s, 2016, that era. And it was already starting to go downhill quick. I mean, as far as the way that the values or the lack thereof, as far as what it was like, dating scene was not good. I'm not saying impossible, but it wasn't great. Lone Wolf, that is correct. UK is no more. UK wants to be in alliance with, I guess, Greater Asia. So India, Pakistan. I think it prefers the non-European countries. That's what it seems to me. No offense to those of you who are not European. I certainly love different cultures, but that's my thought on the matter is that UK is like, nah, we don't, we don't want you European people. So from the last I looked is that most of the people coming into the UK now, the greatest percentage are those coming from outside European backgrounds from what the stats are reporting. But going back is that Tate was not protected as he saw. I don't know what's going to happen to him, but in terms of those of you who are out there that are looking for someone, I would say this is that just try to do things within the realm of legality if possible. Hold on one second. Sorry, just getting over an illness. I would recommend doing things in the realm of legality to try avoid the problems that I have here now. And it's not, it's not cool. It really messes things up for me. And especially, I mean, I'm just being blunt with you guys. If you are, I mean, I know a lot of my content was centered around MGTOW, but if you are looking for a serious girl, I mean, telling them that you don't know, like, if you're going to be in jail or whatever, I mean, it's not going to appeal to most girls here in Russia. I mean, people can say what they want. They can think that they're like Jason Bourne or something, and that girls just want the bad boys. But I'm telling you, I don't think that's true. I mean, there's guys out there that will say that, but I don't see it. I mean, I think if anything, a lot of times, at least here, there's still a normal sense of what's going to happen with this person. And even like in my case, I was supposed to have someone over here the other day. I was going to make them dinner, and they basically just said, I can't come, made up some excuse. I don't know why, but just kind of an example. So for those of you who think, oh, I'm just going to be the bad boy, like not follow the laws or anything, it's going to come back, and it could come back with a vengeance. So I certainly wouldn't recommend it, especially if we're talking about Russia. It just makes life a lot more complicated. Me and the other. Right. So I was in the States and I moved to Estonia. I also lived in Argentina. I was a little bit younger. And now I am in Russia. I'm in the south, in Krasnodar, Russia. So I've been here. I spent Christmas here, although not much happened for Christmas because I was recovering from an illness. It's a real pain to get here right now. So if you want to get into this restricted zone, it's a no-fly zone. You first have to, say, fly into Sochi. Then from Sochi, you can take a train or a car or some other form of transit bus to get into the surrounding areas. Rostov, Krasnodar, these cities are only accessible now by land-based travel. Me and the other, I wish more people. Right. Excuse me, I'm just getting over an illness. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better, but still getting over something. Uh, right. Okay. Yeah. Me and the other, yeah, Russian, perhaps. Although a lot of Russians probably, I mean, they'd still look at me as being like totally Western, too Western. But anyhow, I really appreciate the feedback. And as far as moving forward, I am intending on putting out structured content. Listen, I had a camera, a very nice camera. I actually lost a couple weeks back. No, maybe 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was on a train headed to Moscow, and I'll just be frank about it, I was drunk and I forgot it. So I had a very nice camera, forgot it. And so I need to get a new one, and I'll probably be back in Moscow next week. So, or I mean, I can go in here, Moscow, wherever, it doesn't really matter. Um, More, yeah, I mean, that's a plan. Listen, I have a question, honest question, and maybe I can put up a poll. What should I do? Should I stick more with MGTOW or more with just like Russian concentrated content? Now, I know for those of you that are from Russia, probably don't want to see that if there's any people from Russia, but if there's any interest in doing content, even if I leave Russia, more Russian centric, excellent idea of me and the other. Yeah. I think that that's actually that maybe that's a good way to do it because I'm thinking to myself, how do I do things moving forward? And especially looking at what's going on in the world. Create two, I like that. That is a great idea. Put out two playlists, one for maybe Russian centric, and then the other maybe focus on the manosphere, MGTOW, all of these kinds of things. What do you do? What do you mean? Me and the other. What do you do? You mean career wise? Right. Got it. Right now I am independently day trading. So yeah, and maybe that's why I am still single, because girls don't find day traders to be very interesting. But I don't care. um, I'm behind. Okay. RUIM, no worries. I will end this, and then when I end this, you can replay the stream. So don't worry, all will be covered. And in fact, I will be ending this very, very soon because my battery is running low right now. Oh, you're an engineer. Well done, me and the other. Well, kudos to you. I think I'm also considered an engineer, but in the realm of biotechnology. I think maybe that's considered engineering. Not sure. Uh, REYM. Yeah. Oh, me and the other. That exactly. Yeah. Job situation. It is horrible. Same thing with me. That's how I ended up day trading. Believe it or not. Same exact thing. I mean, we hear you hear in the West that, oh, there's so many jobs, so many openings. There's such a shortage when it comes to STEM areas. Well, guess what? I also studied STEM. Same problem as you, unfortunately. And it's like, it is absolutely terrible, especially because what else are we told? We're told that women are totally disenfranchised. We're told that some groups have it worse than others. In reality, we know that this is all nonsense. They just are tearing us apart. Which field? Like biotechnology, as in focus on chemoinformatics, working with like he's saying it, but like drug repurposing, big pharma, all of this kind of stuff, molecular docking. That was my focus. So yeah, anyhow, I know it's tough. It really makes me mad when I see how many people are struggling out there, and we still see our Western elites pushing this idea that the job market's fantastic, that it's so easy, but we see it's really not the case. First year subject, yeah, I covered physics, biology, chemistry. Yeah, basically, I mean, it's interdisciplinary, so a whole myriad. RUYM, Rostov. Oh, very cool. Okay, so you are from the South. That's wow, very cool. How did you come across my content, my stream, by the way? Because usually it's a mostly Western based audience, I think, I would say. Yeah, well, yeah, covered subjects, physics, chemistry, biology, humanities, all of these good things. All right, cool. Listen, I'm going to end this stream. As I said, battery is running short, and I think I just wanted to put this out there that everything is, at least for now, okay. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. And as far as my videos, I will probably put those back to be viewed publicly. I was just concerned for a while, so I had taken those off from being publicly viewed. I know that my view count, everything has really been messed up because of this, but I am going to go back into this 100%, and hopefully I don't find myself in the Russian gulag. I don't think it will happen, but who knows? So I will keep you updated as far as what happens here with my situation. The fact that I am illegally here and I'm not proud of it. Not one of these, anti-Russian people that's just out there trying to be a nuisance, but it's like just saying this stuff for what it is. So it's been great, and that is all for today. So I should be back on tomorrow for New Year's. Bye bye. Take care.